Taiwan just had an election to choose a new leader in government, and it's going to affect the whole world. They're a small island, but with a massive influence on the world's business and trade. They're on the forefront for making computer chips, which is one of the most sought after things in today's world. People from all over the globe are paying close attention to what's going on there. Here comes the most important news of the century. The winner of the presidential election is the Democratic Progressive Party, or the DPP. A win is a win, but I shouldn't say it out loud. It's a tiny victory by just 40% of the votes. Yeah, they voted for who they want to be the leader and who they want to make the laws, but it's not just that. We should be looking at the bigger picture. Their choice is about to shape the economy of Taiwan and its relationships with its peers, mainly China and the US. How is their economy performing right now? The economy grew by only 1.4% at the end of 2023, which is a considerable decline from the average growth rate of 4.2% between 2020 and 2022. The slowdown was mostly brought on by reduced exports as a result of surplus inventory building up in the semiconductor and electronic industries as demand returned to normal after the COVID-19 pandemic. Luckily, they've recently seen an increase in exports, wages, and stocks. This made the status of the economy less of a primary election concern. The good news is that it seems as though the worst is behind us, especially with the US Federal Reserve's recent turn to a more amicable level, helping the Taiwan currency and local stock market, which have both recently turned positive. These encouraging developments support Taiwan's robust consumption, but we aren't done yet with the positives. The government implemented a program of giving public school teachers, governmental servants, and members of the armed forces 4% pay raises. The job market is also holding up well, so no worries for those of you who are planning to work there. Not only that, but a good change in the supply-demand cycle for semiconductors and electronic devices has started to come about. This allows Taiwan to expand significantly quicker in the coming year and increase exports and investments. I think you all know at this point, but Taiwan is a giant when it comes to these chips. Taiwan manufactures 22% of the electronic chips for the whole planet. Regarding energy, the new Labour states that Taiwan's energy transition can't include nuclear power. His strategy will mainly prolong Taiwan's strong reliance on Chinese coal for a considerable amount of time, given the island's challenges in accelerating the implementation of renewable energy. Everything looks good in Taiwan, for now, but despite such a favourable short-term economic outlook, the long-term outlook will largely rest on the resolution of this primary dispute. Whether Taiwan should forge deeper connections with China or with the US and its allies. We'll talk about this later. For now, let's talk about how the results of the vote can shake the Taiwanese market. But before we go into it, if you like this video so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. The election outcome holds some market significance. Despite the shifting tensions in 2023, Taiwan's stock market outperformed its peers. This was mainly due to two factors: a turnaround in the semiconductor cycle and a rise in artificial intelligence. But if China suspends tariff concessions on Taiwanese agricultural, fisheries, and equipment exports like auto parts and textiles, this result may have an impact on specific industries. The result of the election could affect foreign capital flows to Taiwan's tech sector, as well as the worldwide supply chain for computer chips. 90% of the most sophisticated chips produced worldwide now are made by Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co., TSMC. It's expected that Taiwan will remain an autonomous site for chips fabrication and AI server assembly under the DPP rule. Now, the most important question that we should be asking is how the new leadership will tackle the economic problems. Many experts predict that the government would stick to the main economic policies it has been pursuing for the past 8 years, even after the DPP won a third term as the country's leader. Major policy recommendations made by Lai resemble those of Tsai Ing-wen, the departing president. Lai hopes to move away from the traditional manufacturing framework and focus on creating cutting-edge industries like semiconductors and artificial intelligence. His plan is the following: rocking the planet. By 2026, he hopes to have completely replaced nuclear power with renewable energy through an aggressive shift to green energy. He's also determined to move Taiwan's trade and investment away from China's mainland. Oh, that's a big move. As part of the new southbound policy, this involves attempting to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, and fortify relations with Southeast Asia. He's planning to change the whole structure of Taiwan's relations. Is it true he's going to break up with China? Well, China continues to be Taiwan's top export destination, despite the fact that its percentage decreased to 28% in 2021 from an average of 40% until 2019. China is a friend, no denying that, but Taiwan has made more friends recently. Since 2020, Taiwan's market share from the rest of Asia has increased, reaching over 30% recently. The percentage of exports to the United States increased from 12% to 17% through that time, with semiconductor shipments being a major factor. Recently, Taiwanese trade has diversified away from China and towards the rest of Asia and the US, and Lai Ching-te is perfectly willing to maintain the government's strategy of increasing geographical diversification of trade and investment. Does this mean Taiwan and China will no longer be friends? Analysts expect that tensions with China are going to increase after the DPP won the presidential election on the island. Here comes the panic. Concerns about supplies and societal unrest may show up if China implemented a customs quarantine. This would basically stop all but basic foods and fuels from entering the nation and prohibit significant imports and exports. A situation like this would probably cause the Taiwan dollar to weaken and have an effect on the stock and real estate sectors. China isn't joking. But experts predict that Taiwan will expand more quickly in 2024, given that mainland China continues to be Taiwan's top export market despite tensions. Let's hope so. But before we get our hopes up, we are going to cover every pessimistic scenario. According to some experts, a more drastic scenario would involve a complete blockade. This means banning all imports into Taiwan and negatively affecting Asian stock, real estate markets, and resulting in a lack of foreign currency for Asian countries next door. Do you think this drastic scenario will occur? A blockade isn't out of the question, of course, but it's highly unlikely. Lai Ching-te has a history of advocating for autonomy, but his presidential campaign was quite cautious. So, now it seems like the new president has so many challenges to focus on. One super important challenge is reunification with Taiwan has long been Beijing's goal, but it's aware that if it used military force, the developed world would probably hit back economically. Given that China is far more integrated into the global economy than Russia was before it attacked Ukraine, the threat of sanctions from the rest of the world could seriously harm China's economy. Moreover, it's believed that there is little chance in the intermediate term for China to invade Taiwan. That would be a tough move for China. But what about people in Taiwan? This graph shows the sentiment of Taiwanese people across several decades regarding independence or reunification with China. The huge majority of Taiwanese people seem to support the status quo over a move towards independence or reunification. The conclusion is that Taiwanese citizens don't appear to be in support of a shift in China-Taiwan relations. To conclude, no. Hold on. We can't end this video without giving a glimpse about the relations with the US. In recent years, the US and China have become rivals and they aren't working together as much as before. The US has also put restrictions on selling certain high-tech things to China. Because of this, it isn't as good for businesses to make things in China and sell them to the US. Instead, they are starting to make things in other countries, and guess who benefits a lot from this? Of course, Taiwan. Before, they used to send a lot of things to China and Hong Kong, but now they are sending less. Instead, they are sending more things to the US, Japan, Europe, and other countries in ASEAN. Taiwan is also buying less stuff from China and Hong Kong, but more from the US and Europe. China and Hong Kong's percentage of Taiwan's overall exports fell from 44% to 36% in the first half of 2023. Taiwan's exports to the US, Japan, Europe, and ASEAN nations increased from 45% to 51% of overall exports during that time. So, all eyes towards Taiwan. We have to wait and see how this new leadership will shape Taiwan's economy. We can't deny that the economy has been slowing down a lot since the spring of 2022. This is because fewer people around the world are buying things, especially electronics, which Taiwan sells a lot of. The good news is, Taiwan is still doing okay because it is the main seller of really advanced computer chips which other countries need. This protects Taiwan from any bad actions from China, at least for now. Overall, Taiwan's economy is pretty strong and it has enough money to handle any problems that come from outside. So wishing good luck to the new leader. Thanks for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons to receive more content. See you in the next video.